Here are the best and the worst weapons in Battlefield 6 Day 1. I've just spent the last week or so testing out all the guns, comparing their DPS, comparing how they hold up against each other, how their weapon sway feels, and so much more thanks to EA inviting us to the review event. And after testing all of these weapons, I think I have a pretty good idea of which ones are going to dominate the meta and which ones are going to suck. And if you don't care too much about meta, that's fine, but do know that if you don't use the right weapons, you're probably going to lose a lot of fights that you would have won otherwise if you just used a good one. Now, before we do dive into these, I just want to have a very quick disclaimer and say that there is one issue with this tier list, and that's that I have not unlocked all the attachments for all the weapons. So this will be a fairly deep dive. We're stacking these weapons up against each other at a stock level and with like minimal attachments, but I know from the open beta that there are certain attachments that are really good and some weapons really need these attachments to shine. For example, the KV-9 is an insanely strong gun, but it only has 16 bullets, which doesn't really go that long. If you get the 27 round magazine, then you'll get so much more value out of this thing. It's actually the highest DPS weapon in the game currently, but you don't unlock that until level 40. Point being, this list will give you an indicator of what guns you should be grinding for. Obviously, I recommend trying out all of them yourself and enjoying the game yourself, but just having an inkling on what to expect to play or to push for will help you a ton. And as usual, if you guys haven't bought Battlefield 6 yet, remember to use code ottr. It's very simple to do. When you are in the checkout, let's say I want to buy Battlefield 6 Standard Edition or Phantom Edition, it gives you a little bit of an edge. You just go here, click apply promo code, and you type ottr. Gives me a tiny kickback, helps me out a ton. Easy way for you to pay it forward without having to pay an additional. It just takes like 5 seconds of your time and helps me out a ton. I appreciate you guys who have done it so far. But anyways, let's dive into the actual tier list. So starting off with what I believe to be the worst weapon in the game. I don't think there's a way to defend this one. It is just straight up awful. It is the LMR 27. We're gonna put that in the F tier. This is a semi-automatic sniper rifle that you can click really fast, but it deals a negligible amount of damage. I believe it deals, I have the stats here in a spreadsheet I made. If you guys want that, let me know, maybe we'll drop it. It deals 27 damage per shot. You have to hit 4 shots with this sniper rifle. It has an abysmally small mag of 11 bullets at stock. I really don't know. I guess the damage fall off wasn't that bad, and I think the projectile velocity was fine. But if you use this in close range, you're gonna get demolished by any other weapon. If you use this in long range, you're gonna get demolished by any other DMR or sniper. So it just doesn't really have a place in the game right now. Might be missing something, very likely. I'm not a sniper player, so maybe there's something I'm missing. Another weapon in the F tier is, of course, M60. Now, the thing is with M60 is it's slow, it's bulky. The damage isn't that high, so per bullet it actually deals quite a lot. 33 damage per bullet, and actually the DPS is like not terrible. It's pretty much middle of the pack, but when you compare it to other weapons, it's just too bulky, it's too slow. There's not much of an upgrade potential too, with I think it was less amount of slots as well, so it does a little bit of damage. It's fairly controllable. The accuracy is fairly okay. But I just felt like it was lacking something in like pure infantry damage. Would not recommend this over basically any other weapon. One thing I will give it though is that because of the low free hits per kill, because it's 33 and something damage, this does mean that 100 magazine or 100 bullet magazine will last for forever. But I don't like it. It's too slow and clicky to use, and the DPS is not that high. Spoiler warning, right? We're gonna get most of the LMGs out of the way pretty early. I am pretty biased. I am an LMG hater. It has a very specific playstyle. Like maybe get behind enemy teams. If you have a suppressor, this can work, and get like some transfers. You can wipe down entire like squads that look in the wrong direction. But the second the enemy team starts looking your way, you're just gonna lose against anyone. And when you're playing against good players, that's all the time. If you're holding a position with an LMG, you're rarely gonna get value from it, which is why I generally tend to put these LMGs pretty low on the list. You are rarely going to win a 1v1 if any other weapon on this list gets to drop on you. The L110 is not that good. I don't have much to say about it. It's pretty like the damage per second is better than the M60. It is on the upper tier of damage, I guess, but like it's not really that impressive. It gets the job done. It's an LMG. Not much else to say. Moving on, we have the RPKM, another LMG. Now, the RPKM is like a pseudo assault rifle to LMG. There's another weapon like this, but it's basically like if you had a spectrum, you have an LMG, you have an assault rifle, and the RPKM would be like kind of here on the spectrum, right? Like it would kind of be like somewhere in between. Has a decent amount of damage, is decently controllable. It's not that slow to use. And then the flip side of that is DRS IAR, which has a is much closer to on the same spectrum as an example, much closer on the assault rifle side of things with a significantly higher DPS. It's the 16th highest DPS in the game, but it's not like insanely good. There's some way better choices out there. Actually, when I am looking at it, that is actually a pretty respectable DPS. It's just a little bit clunky. I'm actually gonna bump it up though. I'm gonna bump it up to like B tier, just because of how close it is to an assault rifle. It's quite accurate to shoot it, and again, it does a very respectable amount of damage when you compare when I look at all the other ones. So I'm actually bumping that up a little bit. We're probably gonna have more of these as we move on, because I wrote this list like a week ago. I started it, and I'm just filling it up. You know, you're gonna learn more as you keep playing. Closing out the E tier, of course, this could have been an F tier weapon, but we're gonna put it in the E tier. It's gonna be the M39. This is a DMR. I think the reason I didn't put it in the F tier is because we had the LMR27. I don't want to put those in the same tier. It's quite useless. I don't really think it has much of a use in the game currently. It's like a pretty low damage per shot as well, just like the LMR. Yeah, it's also extremely low DPS. At one of the lowest DPSs in the game. It's like, what, the 5th slowest? It's like the same DPS as pistols. Not really that good. Doesn't really have much going for it. If you want a DMR, use any of the other ones that we're going to mention later. No point. I was on the wrong page. I'm moving that one down. I realized that. I was like, the KSK is not on my list right now. There we go. Now it's accurate. Everything else is pretty much accurate. Moving on. The KSK has one of the highest DPSs in the game currently. But the problem is it is a semi-automatic shotgun. You can shoot it pretty damn fast, but it cannot full pump. You have to be very close to get the full value out of it. But if you're playing against another shotgun, you're going to get out pumped. If you're playing against an SMG or a rifle, even if they close the range, they might actually kill you before you get the second pump off. If you catch the enemy team off guard, you have a pretty large magazine and you can get a lot of kills, a large cluster of kills in one go. But generally speaking, you're not going to get too much value out of this in like a 1v1 situation, which I think is most of the situations, right? Even if you position really well, you're going to end up having, like, even if I'm getting a great flank in, I'm still going to have to go in and take at least one duel with whoever's looking my way. That's always going to happen. Yeah, moving on. We have the AK-4. Now, I wanted to like this one, but I just couldn't. The problem with the AK-4D is that controllability isn't good. It's an assault rifle. The accuracy is low, so the bullets go everywhere. The spread is quite high. Recoil is quite high, fairly manageable, but the damage per second isn't that high. The damage per bullet, I believe, is like on the higher side. It kind of falls flat in general. It's just like mid. It's just painfully mid. Moving on, we have, speaking of painfully mid weapons, we of course have the USG-90. You know, everyone loves the P90, but it doesn't really have that good of a damage per second. It is fairly controllable recoil-wise, I will give them that, and the hipfire is pretty solid. Everything about it, all the stats are quite mid, and it doesn't have that many slots to actually add attachments, so you can't really tinker with it and offset it and build it out to actually be a decent weapon. It's just painfully not really worth investing any time into. Maybe D is too high, but I did okay with it, so I'm gonna keep it there. And then of course, speaking of mid SMGs, we have the PWE 5A3. I don't know why it is such a long name. We could just call it the MP5 because that is what it is. I think most SMGs are like this to a certain extent. Is not that bad of a recoil, not that bad of a spread, not that bad of an accuracy. All SMGs are like this to a certain extent. However, it does not have good damage. It just doesn't have good damage, and there are SMGs that do. We're gonna cover those later. So this thing just doesn't really do it for me, or pretty much anyone. I think it's just not that good. Moving on though with the C tier, we're gonna start with the P18, which is the starter pistol. It's a good all-rounder, not really the best. Damage isn't that impressive. It's not that hard to control, but it's not amazing. So I mean, oopsie, this was supposed to be here. Sorry, I apologize. It's a lot of weapons, and since I messed this up at the start, it's a bit goofy. There's not much else to add to this. I think all pistols do benefit from like a laser sight. Like, it's a good secondary, finish off your kills and whatever, but it doesn't really shine that much on its own. Another weapon that I wanted to be good because it was really good when I was in LA and it was good in the tests was, of course, the B36. Now, I've been told that it is a good weapon, but I just maybe like I haven't figured out how to use it fully as you needed the MW blue and the right compensator to make it work in open beta. But so far, it suffers from one big issue, which is that it does not have good accuracy. The moving accuracy is atrocious, and the standing still accuracy as well is quite atrocious. You have to burst with this thing. If you shoot more than 6 bullets, it would just go hey wild on you. You're not gonna hit anything, and it has nothing to do with recoil or spread. It's just straight up, the accuracy is not there. This is a problem that is consistent across all assault rifles for some reason, or most of them, but definitely, you know, can't put it higher than C. It does burst quite hard. It does hit quite hard when used, when you do hit the shots, but it's just too unreliable for me. I think it's worth it. This one, along with all the other ones, might end up like jumping up the list if it turns out that MW blue or some other attachment really makes them shine, but right now it's just been falling short. Another weapon in the C is of course SL9. This is I think one of the last SMGs you unlock, or it's part of a challenge. It has pretty good and controllable recoil, but the strafe accuracy is terrible. I guess this would be like a mix between an LMG and a SMG sort of. So you have a large magazine size, but the strafe accuracy is terrible and very little recoil. You're supposed to use this for transfers, for for beams, but the damage per second is quite low. We're looking at a definitely middle to bottom of the pack of all DPSs. Not what you would expect for an SMG. So it really just feels like you're shooting pellets, especially over range, because the damage fall off is quite rough. So definitely not a recommendation for me whatsoever. Another weapon. This one disclaimer on this one, I might not have figured out how to use it fully, but I will still put it in C tier either way. It's a GRT BC. The damage is quite high on paper. It's on the 18th place, so it's up there. It's a carbine, of course, it's going to be high up. The problem is, however, it has a quite high spread, and the bullets can just go everywhere, and it just feels really weird to use it. It's the easiest way I can explain it. I would say it should definitely be higher up on the list if you just look at it pure damage, but it's so weird to use it that I kept feeling like I was just whiffing shots or just not having them connect even when I was on point. So definitely can't put it higher than C for sure. Generally speaking, I think what is important to me is because it's a weapon that has like a high damage per second, but a lot of the guns, especially on the lower end here, you just fail the trade-off completely. KTS MK100, there we go. It has very low recoil and quite high DPS. It's quite controllable, but it kind of sucks because it is an LMG. It is a little bit clunky. I will say it kind of felt good. It kind of felt like maybe a more LNG version of the DRS, but with better recoil. Overall though, I feel like you can't win 1v1s with it. This is definitely one of those I would probably use if I'm going on a flank, trying to get some cool transfer clips, like quick flicks or something fun like that. But on its own, doesn't really hold much in a 1v1 situation. We're gonna get a few more LMGs out of the way here. We have the M250. This one I actually kind of liked more, both this one and the next one we're gonna mention, because the DPS was on the lower side, but it was really controllable. The recoil actually felt really weird. I believe it just pulls up into, I think it's to the right. So I kept feeling like I was pulling, and it's not even that aggressive a vertical recoil. I kept pulling down because it was overcompensating it because I was used to other weapons. So it's super controllable. I believe, I could be wrong, don't quote me on this, that the M20, it comes with like the silencer and whatever off rip. So you can just pick this up and start flanking people. I don't know. I don't feel like it holds much of a candle whenever I take one because of how slow, sight speed is, how clunky it feels to use it, how much it slows you down. The next one is the M123K. And also I want to say, to me personally, I would feel like LMGs would be more worth it if they had like a little bit more damage, a little bit more accuracy or controllability or something, right? Because you have to get value out of these guns, you have to basically either pre-hold an angle and have people swing into you, or you have to go on a flank and like just lie down and like prone up or whatever, and then hope they don't look your way. That's the only way you can use these weapons. It's too niche, and you're gonna be caught on the blind side more often than not, unless you're like a severe team player who is always behind your team. If you're a severe team player who's always behind your team, maybe this list is almost flipped, honestly, but just saying, just putting it out there because I know people will disagree. The M123K has a higher DPS than, for example, the M215. I believe it's noticeably higher DPS, but it has less controllability. Again, it's just a spectrum thing. Do I want a higher DPS? Do I want a lower DPS? They're pretty much similar in other ways. Obviously, the controllability is a bit lower than M123K. It's higher on M250. I think a tier list is one way to go about this, but maybe we need another video with different format as well, just going a little bit more in depth with this stuff. And then closing out the C tier, there's one weapon that I wanted to be better, but we're gonna put it here anyways. And I know it's pistols, so you're gonna have to compare the pistols to the pistols. Is it ES57? I quite liked it as a secondary, but when you compare it to the other pistols we're gonna get to, it's okay. It's middle of the pack. I think you could kind of run this as a primary weapon, but it's not really like that good. These are in no particular order, but I will say that the ES57 is noticeably better than P18. It's a noticeable step up. Moving on into the B tier, we have I believe the last LMG is the M2410L, and this one actually surprised me because I've been writing off LMGs this whole playthrough, feeling like that they're just not good, have no value. And then I picked up this thing, and it's actually quite good. The problem is, it's one of the last ones you unlock. And if I remember correctly, yeah, it's like the 24th place on the DPS. So it's like, yeah, it gets out DPS by the M123K, but the controllability is so good. You have really good accuracy, which is my number one thing. The bullets go where you are pointing, whether you strafe or you stand still. So you can actually run around and flank with this thing, and it's like not too clunky. I think it might be, I think the type of magazine affects the aim down sight speed potentially. But either way, it has a smaller mag, so you have to reload it a lot more, but it still gets the job done. Big vouch from me from the M240L even. But still, I wouldn't use an LMG. We're gonna see. We're gonna go for 100 kills on every gun, so we're gonna have to get real intimate with a lot of these weapons. Next up, we have the L85A3. Now, this one I wanted to be better, but it suffers from a few issues that we're gonna mention. First and foremost, the DPS is not that good. The DPS is quite low for this weapon. Most of the weapons on this tier list actually have a higher DPS. So why do I put it so high in the B tier? Good question. It's because the controllability. It's just a very controllable weapon. It kind of shoots where you're aiming. Yeah, the recoil is not that hard to control. It's just a controllable weapon, really. Sway's not that bad. Next up, we have the M277. I probably could place this higher because it's insanely good off rip. The first thing I notice is this thing deals so much damage. I believe per bullet, it's something my spreadsheet might be a bit off because I think in the data, it says it deals 25, but when I actually used it, it was like, I swear it was doing more. You can see in the bottom, maybe I'm wrong, but I know this thing was shredding, especially off rip. The problem is though that the recoil is quite high. It's super hard to control this thing, and it also has a quite high recoil, so it kind of like jumps in your face a lot. It's a lot hard to keep on your sight on the target with this thing compared to the other weapons. Next up in the B tier, we have another weapon that is the NVO. Now, I know some people swore by this thing and maybe it was better in open beta, but it doesn't feel that good, at least right now. DPS isn't that much to write home about. Again, middle of the pack, pretty much. It has a pretty strong horizontal recoil. It feels just weird to shoot it. It's the easiest way to explain it. The DPS is pretty solid though. Like, you'll get kills with it. I just feel like compared to other weapons, it's just not reliable enough. Then in the B tier, we're gonna put the M45A. That's a pistol again. Just quick mention, right? Like, you're gonna unlock these as you basically in this order as you move, like, continue leveling up and playing the game. I will say the M45A1 has actually one of the higher DPSs. It has the problem is the magazine is quite small, so this is like not a primary weapon. This is a secondary, like true secondary weapon, but it will help you secure one kill, maybe 1.5 or 2, or from 100 to 0, or just finishing off somebody who you like, you know. This is always faster to swap to your secondary than reloading, but overall, like, it's gonna have to go into B tier. Moving on, however, we have the 6P67, guys. Funny number. Assault rifle, extremely controllable, fast DPS. It feels like you're shooting a laser. It has pretty much 0 recoil, but it has a pretty harsh sway, especially with the I think the first barrel modification you get, and it has some accuracy issues. I would just take that barrel off and it's a little bit better, but it still has some pretty high sway. But if you're pretty close range, you don't notice it, and it will just feel like you're kind of lasering people if they're up close. It's almost like a SMG / carbine / assault rifle hybrid, despite being an assault rifle. It has pretty good movement accuracy as well, for what it's worth. The SVDM, I tried this out earlier today, and it's pretty controllable. You can't really spam it full speed unless they're really close, but it shoots pretty fast. It deals a decent amount of damage, and I think it's a free tap across all, if not most ranges, so it gets the job done. Kind of pales in comparison to other DMRs potentially, but it's a pretty solid DMR. Moving on, we have the PW7A2, also known as the MP7. Now, the MP7 has a slower TK, but what I've noticed, and I think per bullet, it deals like 18 damage or something, like really small. It's one of the least damaging bullets in the game. With a pretty harsh damage fall off. I think most SMGs suffer from that, but it is a laser beam. It has practically 0 recoil. It has practically no sway, practically no movement inaccuracy. It runs well out the gate. It just, you know, doesn't really have like the fast enough damage per second to make it like a higher tier weapon, but it is a pretty solid weapon. It gets the job done. Moving on, another good all-rounder is the M433. This one I just ran like the first day, and maybe I should return to this one later and give it a try again. It's an assault rifle. The thing is, what's cool with M433 is it actually comes in the Phantom pack. So if you purchase the Phantom edition, you're amongst the other things you will get this shrouded weapon kit. It's a fully kitted M433, and again, remember code ottr in the EA Play app if you purchase it. Get the Phantom edition, and we tried it out. It actually works quite well, especially out the gate when nobody has anything unlocked. Big vouch from me. But that being said, it is a bit hard to control with this build. I didn't get to build it out fully and like experiment with it enough. The damage is on the higher end, like top 10, top 15 weapons in DPS. Yeah, it's a good all-rounder. It gets the job done. I guess I said most B tier weapons will probably just be, yeah, it gets the job done. But there's this one thing. Next up, I want to mention snipers. Now, snipers, I am not the expert on snipers, but after playing around with them, I have noticed one specific thing, and that's that they are pretty much just the exact same. There's actually no realistic difference between these. I think the one difference could be like projectile velocity, projectile drop when you shoot with the sniper, but I didn't get to experiment with it enough. We'll probably make a future video experimenting more in depth with that. The main difference between all of these 3 snipers is the range and the sweet spot. If you guys don't know what sweet spot is, the damage per shot ramps up from like, it's at the lowest point right up close to somebody, and then the damage ramps up to 100 at a certain range, and up until a certain range, and then it ramps down again as they go even further out. If you hit a headshot, it doesn't matter, but if you hit a body shot, then that's where you'll see the big difference. So the SV98 is like a close quarters. It's a 45 meters and 90, I believe. The M2010, I don't remember. I think it's 90 to 120 from like open beta. They didn't write this in the description for some reason, but it does say on the gun. And the PSR, which I unlocked earlier today, is a long distance weapon. It's like 75 to 150 or something like that. So these all they get the job done. They're snipers. Put a rangefinder on it, you can really not tell a difference. I will mention though, the M2010 comes with a terrible scope. Try to upgrade that as soon as you can if you like sniping, because it's awful. The first one, like if you're trying to snipe something farther than 120 meters away, you're trying to shoot pixels, and the scope you have is just really inaccurate. And then closing out the B tier, we're gonna have the SGX. Again, it's a solid weapon. It's a solid weapon. DPS is solid, hipfire is solid, like all across the board. It's a pretty solid weapon. It gets the job done. I've said that probably like 10 times this video so far. Good movement. It's fast to use. It feels good. Pretty controllable. Very good close range. Very good in duels. You will get outshined by other weapons, but it is still an incredibly good weapon. Now we're getting into the meat and the potatoes. So most people don't follow metas, and I don't blame you, or most people don't care about it, but it's good to be aware of it. Personally, I have a hard time enjoying games if I don't play the meta weapons, mostly because when I lose a game or lose a fight and I know it's like I'm just losing duels because my gun is terrible, that feels really bad. I feel like I'm wasting my time. So I always only run S and A tier, and that's like all of this is just we're just fighting for what's less mid. But once we get to A tier, once we get to S tier, I'm a lot more confident about the picks. So starting off, we're gonna start with something that's a bit niche, but we have to mention it. Of course, we have M87A1. This is a shotgun. It's a pump shotgun. You can do slugs, you can do buckshot. Buckshot is fine. Was nerfed in the live patch versus open beta. Not that good, obviously, as a primer weapon. You can make do with it. You can use it as a gadget for assault, but generally speaking, it's just that good. If you have an M87A1 within its effective range of like 5 to maybe 10 meters, you're gonna win practically every 1v1 because you one shot when enemies are close enough. I would put it higher, but it's like, I don't know if it counts at the extreme ranges, and it's not that good of a weapon outside of its very niche, like close range. So I'll keep it there. Another weapon I want to put here is M44. This is the last pistol, and this might just be me. Maybe for most people, the M45A1 is a better pistol. But for me, the M44 is the best one because you get 2 shots somebody in the body at the close range, 3 shot longer range, 1 shot somebody in the head, even without the hollow point attachment, which raises headshot damage. And it's just an overall really strong weapon, I feel like, as a pistol, because it can 2-shot close range. I think it's 6 shooter, so you can get 3 kills per magazine. You compare that, you go from the M45, which can get 1.5, I think, if you hit every shot, to this is night and day. Extremely good. I'm probably gonna use this for all of my runs, or sorry, on all of my loadouts. So big recommendation from me. I would put it in this tier, but it's a little bit punishing. Like, yeah, if you can hit headshots, you can hit these slow rate of fire shots. It is extremely valuable, but it's very contingent on you being able to hit shots. This is also like one of the few guns that I would consider like you can actually make a primary out of the M44 as a pistol. Moving on, we have the SG556. I've noticed that compared to other carbines, it is actually quite consistent. The DPS is not that terrible. It has one of the highest DPSs in the game, but it also has at 9th place, maybe even 4th or 5th, depending on how you count it. Over most ranges, it is a beam. It's actually quite scary how much of a beam this is in the close to mid ranges, maybe even a little bit to the long ranges. Very controllable, very good DPS, definitely a big vouch. I swapped from some of the carbine to this one, and it was a night and day difference, even though I think that of a carbine was like a B tier. Like, it was an immediate step up in how effective it was. Moving on, we have in the A tier, we have the SVK. This is the last DMR, in my opinion. Opinions, warning, right? It is the best DMR. It's 2 taps in the body at, I believe, all ranges. Against a sniper, it might not be as good, because if you fight a sniper who has set up in their sweet spot and you guys trade shots, the sniper will always win, because they can either one-shot headshot you or one-shot body shot you. But either way, the SVK does 2-tap anyone in the body. So if you figure out the pacing, it's not like you don't shoot max RPM when you try sniping with someone with this. You go like bam, bam, they're dead. Then the next one, because the mag size is quite large. You can get so many kills with this. I've farmed a lot of high kill games with this. Cannot vouch for it enough. An amazing weapon still, both in the beta and even now. Also, worth mentioning, this thing one-shots in the head. I like really close range, so you can do some really fun stuff with it. Moving on with the AK-205, which I think is maybe A tier. Like, maybe I rated it a little bit too high this because I put this rating down like early in the video and haven't touched it for like actually like a whole week. It has one of the lowest DPSs in the game. 20 damage per bullet. It's 240 DPS. We compare it to a weapon we just mentioned, which was the SG553R. That one has 396, so almost double. So this one is like a carbide LMG in a way, but it also has a really high accuracy. So the moving accuracy is pretty solid. The standing still accuracy is great. If you can just get behind somebody and you can just like laser them with a large magazine for a real long time, It does feel like you're shooting, I don't know, pillows, right? But it does actually just let you laser in. It also comes with, and I think some of these weapons do, I didn't mention it because I didn't think it was like that important. But the AK-205 can be equipped with both hollow points, which increase your headshot damage from 1.35 to 1.50, and as well as synthetic bullets, which raises it to 1.75, so 75% higher damage per headshot. It's a hyper controllable gun, so if that's something that you want, it is the best gun for the job. Now that I've been comparing it to the other ones, I'm like, I don't know, it depends on how highly you value control versus DPS. You're not gonna win money 1v1s with this thing, but you're gonna get so much value from like just flanking with it that it might end up being worth it. It's just a matter of playstyle. Moving on with the SOAR 556. This one actually surprised me. This, after I had such a long experience with the assault rifles just being overall inaccurate, as in like the also going aim, and the recoils being like unmanageable, and the DPS not being that good, this one blew my socks off. So the SOAR 556 does not have the most impressive DPS. However, it's actually quite low, but it is very controllable. It's like you think about the AK-205, but for assault rifles. That's basically it. Very controllable weapon. Makes it easy to do transfers or hit like beams of a long range. If you tap fire, it has practically no recoil at all. I think a lot of assault rifles actually benefit a lot from tap firing, but I didn't experiment with it enough in this build, so we're gonna have to run more tests with that later. But you can also put synthetics on this thing, so you can absolutely shred with headshots if that's what you're going for. Just gets the job done. Moving on, we have the QBZ-192. I believe this is a carbine. It has one of the highest DPSs in the game. One of, you know, as we go up, like it's very much correlated with the DPS, but you know, one of the higher, I should say, not the highest DPSs in the game. The accuracy is not the best off of rip, but once you get some attachments, it's not as terrible. The recoil is also quite high. The UMG 40, that's another banger weapon. It has a middle of the pack damage per second. Like, it's not insane, but for being an SMG, it's actually quite controllable with very minimal recoil, and I don't think the fall off is that terrible. So you can actually hit people across most ranges and still feel like you're comfortably beaming them. So definitely a big recommendation for me if you're looking for that. And then closing out the A tier, we of course have the M417A2. Now, M417A2 is an insanely good gun when it is built the right way. Problem is I have not upgraded enough. In the open beta, I had it fully kitted out, I believe, or almost fully kitted out from a viewer recommendation. There was a certain suppressor you had to use, which is like with the blue laser and a lot of things you needed, but the recoil was very, very high. The visual recoil was very, very high. I believe there's supposedly some sites that help offset that. I haven't experimented fully with that yet. My point is, it's not that good when you pick it up the first time, but if you stick with it, you should get rewarded. Again, this could have changed from the open beta and the current version, and who knows, maybe there's a whole different version once the game comes out, because I noticed that they won't patch. So take it with a grain of salt. Take all of these with a grain of salt. It should be pretty accurate though. If I get something wrong, maybe I'll post it in the comments, so you guys will point it out in the comments. So, but now finally we got the S tier. The actual meat and potatoes. Like, if you just want to crutch meta, you would only pick the S tier weapons. These are like, if you want to win every single fight, these are the must-haves, and then you can tinker with the attachment, what works for you. There's probably going to be S tier builds. We can post those on our page and everything, but overall, these are the weapons you're going to be looking for. And I just realized I'm spoiling it because you can see there's only the S tier left. So, but I'm going to explain it one at a time, and you'll see. So, starting off, we're going to start with the M4A1. This thing is insane. It has pretty noticeable like recoil, but you can manage it. I would build this for hipfire specifically, but this will win trades against most weapons in the game. This is like in the top 10 DPS wise, and it is like the second weapon you unlock, and you can basically just run with this for most of your playthrough, most of the game, until you like everything else if you want to, and still win most of your trades. It just gets the job done. It is just solid overall. Actually depressing how good it is, because why would you even play anything else when you have this? Another weapon, then moving on in the list, we have the M1014. Now, this one is special because I did just mention M87A1, which was the previous like king of the shotgunning, but after playing a little bit with the M1014, I want to say this one is better for one reason. It is a semi-automatic shotgun. It has I think, I didn't test this, but I think it has a slightly like lower range. You have to get a little bit closer than the M87A1, but it is so good. It is so good because as opposed to the Saiga, which we mentioned previously, which is actually, I think that was full auto, or maybe it's semi, doesn't matter. Nobody's going to use it anyways. This one can one shot. It is 114 for a full pump. So if you can get up behind you, if you get up close range, you're gonna win every duel if they peek you close range. And if you get the flank of somebody, you can, I think it's 7 bullets by default, you can kill 7 people in one magazine just like that. That is an insanely powerful weapon. It is an insanely powerful weapon. And if an enemy is just slightly out of range, you can just double tap him. An M87A1, you gotta re-rack and then shoot again. This one, you just keep spamming those shots and you're gonna kill them anyways. Absolutely insanely strong weapon. This one is gonna be a big problem, I think, once people realize it. Moving on, there are 3 more, and we're gonna do it like in the order of unlocks, I guess, at this point. So you have the STW. This one is really good. It is second highest DPS in the game. It has really good accuracy when you're like strafing and moving. It has pretty easy to control recoil. It just has it all except one thing. The magazine is tiny. I think it's 11 bullets. By default, or like a very small amount. Doesn't go very far, but you can upgrade the magazine once you get it to level 40. I think it's a 20 something mag. It'll help a lot. You're gonna win most 1v1s with the SCW because you're just gonna out DPS them, but obviously you can't really do transfers or hit a lot of people at the same time because you're gonna have to reload, so you're gonna have to reload all the time basically with a small magazine here. Honestly, that is a it's a valid trade-off, but I still think it's good enough of a weapon to put in the S tier because everything else is just so damn good. Like I'll take those odds. But obviously if I just want to go for flanks, you get like big spray downs, I would probably pick some other weapon like farther down on the list, probably like one of the A tier weapons for that, the AK-205 or something like that. Next up we have the KV9, which is just like the SCW but even better. It has a 16 bullet magazine. I'm currently leveling it up. It has a 16 bullet magazine. By default, goes up to 27, I believe, but it costs 45, so it's probably not worth it. This is based on the Vector, and just like in real life, it has very minimal recoil. Feels absolutely insane to shoot it, and most importantly, it has the highest damage per second in the game at 450. You can also put hollow points on this, which gives you additional headshot damage. You don't really need them, but I've been playing around with them, and the shreds you can do if you get a burst in the head is unmatched. Also for both SCW and the KV9, you usually can when you just burst on all ranges, and then you get value from them. Don't go full spray. You will not hit, and you'll run out of ammo like immediately. But I cannot vouch for the KV9 enough. I'm probably gonna main it for the time being, and then we're gonna try some more stuff later, but it's just so damn good. You can't pass up on it, or I can't. That being said, there's one weapon that is kind of a contender to both of these two, and this one is if you don't like SMGs too much, or you want like slightly longer range at the cost of a slightly lower damage per second. That is, of course, the TR7. This is an assault rifle. It has so much damage potential. It's fairly controllable. It has one drawback. The recoil is insane. I believe its visual recoil and spread is the highest factor. It's hard to offset it. Maybe with the with the perfect attachments, you can probably work this down and make it more manageable to control. But in the meantime, all you have to do is kind of burst. You'll just burst kill everyone. The TR7 has a 33 damage per shot, which means, or I think they rounded down. It's 34, right? It 4 or 3 taps basically anyone. So they just get absolutely melted, especially in close range. You can put hollow points as well for even higher damage. If we sort by like the DPS for headshots, it is, I believe, also one of the highest ones. It is. Obviously the KV9 will take will be the best DPS overall, but overall these are 100% the S tier weapons that I would see myself using basically religiously. Also, we're currently editing the video. I just wanted to make a quick adjustment. After I've seen some clips and I've tested guns a little bit longer, the AK-205, now that we have more weapons in the game, is a little bit worse than we thought. I would probably put that closer to like a C tier, and the MP5, the PW, I believe that's a 782, is actually quite a lot stronger than I thought. Now, the DPS is not that good. It kind of shoots pillows. However, it has a quite large mag size. It is significantly higher DPS than the AK-205, and it has pretty minimal recoil. So honestly, we're gonna put the MP5 all the way up in the A tier because I do see the value. However, I wouldn't use it in band for band or 1v1 against most of the weapons that are higher up in the tier. And overall, these are the weapons. This is the tier list. These are where I would place all these weapons, not having unlocked them fully. Once I master all these weapons, once we get to the level 40, this list will most likely look a little bit different. Maybe somebody recommends a build and I'll be like, oh shit, this is actually insanely good. Who knows, right? I don't know for sure. So take it all with a grain of salt. But this will go a long way for you as you level up and you try out the game for the first time. You're not going to unlock most of these guns for a very long time, but now you know what you want to strive for, what you want to pass up on, and where you want to spend your time grinding. Anyways, this was a long video, so I want to thank you guys for coming out and watching. We have so much more content coming out for Battlefield 6, so I hope to see you guys on the battlefield, on the streams, and in the upcoming videos. Hit subscribe and like. All right, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time. Peace out.